Okay, I know what you're thinking. Dude, you seriously think ER has some of the best seasons in television history? Especially with shows like Breaking Bad, or Killing Eve, or Euphoria, or The Sopranos, or Narcos, or Chernobyl, or The Wire, Stranger Things, The Office, It's Always Sunny, Twin Peaks, True Detective, The Twilight Zone, Game of Thrones. Get that out of my face. Alright, listen. I know, okay? I know. That's a pretty hearty statement, but I'm going to explain to you why I think that. I'm not trying to convince you of anything or strip that title from whatever your favorite TV show is, okay? But ER is really, really good, so let's talk about it. Okay, yes, medical dramas have been a staple in television for decades now, starting with City Hospital, airing in 1952 on CBS until the following year, which surrounded, well, I don't actually know what. I assume a hospital in a city with some drama, but a quick Google search kinda yielded nothing, so yeah. The genre has paved its way into being an integral part of varying networks, especially with shows that have since ended like House, The Night Shift, Scrubs, or The Nick, and shows that are still going on like Grey's Anatomy, The Good Doctor, General Hospital, New Amsterdam, The Resident, just to name a few. Are they unrealistic? Some more than others. Are they overly dramatic? Of course. Are they still greatly entertaining and have the ability to create characters that are relatable and complex and likable? Yes. ER is all of the above, but where I feel as though it shines is its characters and its capability of continuously developing them. ER is a show wherein characters often come and go, and oftentimes those episodes are the best ones, and while that generally isn't a contender for the Best Show award, I feel as though the show does its characters justice with their arcs. Nothing feels like a throwaway or unearned, and while some moments are sadder than others, Mark Green's arc being the most obvious example, we'll get to him in a second, they feel satisfying to watch and stick with you even for a while after. Here's an obligatory spoiler warning for the rest of this video, but the show has been over for more than a decade now. However, if you just want to hear my non-spoilery synopsis of thoughts, you can skip to this timestamp and come back to the rest of this video whenever you watch the show. If you ask anyone what makes a television show good, they'll likely name things like writing, theme, plot, characters, relatability, cinematography, entertainment factor. They're all things that make a show not only watchable, but when done right, make it great. Now you may be wondering what seasons I'm talking about. I'm referring to seasons 6 to 8. They feel like the sweet spot in ER history. I want to break those seasons down into 3 categories. The point of a medical drama is, well, there has to be drama. If there are no real stakes in a moment that can pave way for real consequences, then a show can fall flat. What's the point of being emotionally invested in something that doesn't follow through? Carter's fentanyl addiction didn't stay under the radar and made him have to choose between keeping his job at County and going to rehab or being removed. Benton having to pick either his career or his custody of Reese, Weaver not fully at terms with her sexuality, having to choose between outing herself to save Legatsby or saving face and fighting from the sidelines. Every consequence comes as a result of a believable action. As you can imagine, a show centered around an emergency room will include death, and its characters aren't invincible against it. However, the way it handles death and its aftermath are a lesson in tact. Be Still My Heart and All of the Family in season 6 are about Lucy Knight and John Carter's stabbings. It ultimately ends with Lucy's death in episode 14 and a long road ahead for Carter, but the way the writers handled Lucy's death felt like an appropriate send-off. People generally liked Lucy and had watched Carter grow as a doctor, so for these two characters to be in immediate danger, the stakes became real. In All in the Family, the rest of the present ER's characters were appropriately challenged and reacted in ways that felt believable. Romano is a perfect example in which his more human side was shown at the end due to his own failure to save Lucy along with Elizabeth's help. For me, it was the first time I truly saw him being human, and honestly slightly redeemable. The way Benton treated Carter in surgery despite their differences in the past, his arrogance and intensity served to help, but also hindered his judgment that became ultimately consequential. They are all humans and they are all fallible. They fail even when it matters the most. While Lucy's death was sudden in the show, Mark's was handled over 2 seasons and multiple episodes. The introduction to the initial diagnosis signaled Anthony Edwards' eventual departure from the show, and while the audience had a long time to prepare, it still hit home. Mark Green is an undeniably beloved character in the series. Despite his occasional shortcomings as a father and his sometimes rash decisions as a doctor, he still was shown to be a genuinely good person. He exhibited differing facets of what makes a person a person. The Letter and On the Beach are wonderfully well-rounded episodes that truly show the impact of his character character to the rest of the ER and to his family. True to its name, the letter serves as a love letter to Mark Green as much as it's a love letter to Anthony Edwards. The entirety of the episode deals with the love and loss of Mark, and it does what a lot of films and TV don't. It shows how death impacts others, as well as its final moments of the episode, how people find a way to move on despite not realizing it. There's a need to uphold a legacy shown with Carter exchanging his own stethoscope with Mark's, and the green scrubs he wears in the next season as Mark did, the shot-by-shot, almost verbatim conversation Carter has with Gallant that Mark had with Carter when he started as a resident. The characters act as people do. They hold on to the things that serve as a reminder that those who are gone can still exist in your life. Those who are gone are not forgotten. You can tell that the array of writers cared enough, and in turn makes the audience care too. Before I delve into the characters, I just want to touch on the acting. Every person in these seasons is amazing, genuinely. It would be easy to sell the show on the cast alone. Noah Wyle, Anthony Edwards, Alex Kingston, Michael Michelle, Sherry Stringfield, Eric LaSalle, Maura Tierney, Laura Innes, Goran Vishnik, Ming-Na Wen, Paul McCrane. I mean, come on. You can tell every person on the show gave it their all. Every single episode. I mean, Alex Kingston in Damage Is Done nearly broke me. But back to the main point. The best kind of characters are the ones that feel like they could be real. They're three-dimensional, complex, have good attributes as well as their own flaws. If a character makes a decision and they believe they are right, it's easy to convince the audience that they truly believe in their actions and aren't just making choices convenient to the plot. ER is an ensemble show. While you could argue that an individual character is the main protagonist, that being Carter for some and Mark for others, every character generally has a good amount of time to feel like a fleshed out person. Even the nurses who aren't the forefront of the show most of the time have an undeniable, unique presence that makes it feel like an actual hospital rather than a set. There's Malik and his comedic timing, or Haley and her questioning looks and reliability. Every 45-minute episode always manages to bring it all together into something cohesive, making you only want more. Most of us aren't doctors or nurses or psychologists, but we can all find something to relate to in this show. The situations characters are thrown in, their responses and choices, their struggles and moments and lapse of judgment, the strain in familial relationships, the loneliness and anxiety of shame and addiction, the fears of becoming like a parent, and the need to keep your own problems isolated, the questioning of yourself and what you've believed to be your truth, the joys of falling in love and the downfalls of heartbreak. If you don't relate to all of these points, you likely relate to at least one. We love to see ourselves mirrored in the media we consume, and for a piece of work to do so empathetically and so tactfully, with as much human truth as it can, it only helps us fall in love with what we're watching even more. You could argue that all three of these points tie into one another, and yeah, you're right, but that's the point. The ability to seamlessly weave all the elements that make a good television series is what sets an okay piece of media apart from a fantastic one. Overall, at its core, ER isn't about the medical practice. That aspect is often secondary, as it should be, but rather it's about the individual as a county general. The episodes that shine the most are the ones that focus on each character as a person rather than their occupation. It's what makes On the Beach so heartbreaking. It's what makes Secrets and Lies interesting to watch. It's what makes Damage Is Done so high stakes. It's what makes the ending of I'll Be Home for Christmas so well worth it. This show is truly a lesson in effective storytelling, with its characters, its drama, and its ability to organically evolve. It doesn't want to allow each character to remain as they are. What worked in season 1 does not fully work in season 8 because the audience has grown with the characters, and to have them remain stagnant would be a disservice. It's good at convincing you that these are people with thoughts and feelings and ambiguity and clashing morals, not simplistic caricatures that follow a specific formula. There's something to be said for a show that is able to do so seamlessly. There isn't a moment where you feel bored or something feels non-consequential. Everything and everyone has a purpose. Seasons 6 to 8 to me are the epitome of what makes ER work, but you could truly say that about any of the seasons and you would likely be right. This show as a whole has withstood the test of time. It was far ahead of its contemporaries in the way it tackled topics like HIV statuses, homosexuality, and women in the workplace, addiction, love, and loss, and joy. It is so well worth it, I promise. Thank you so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate it if you've made it this far. I want to make other videos like this talking about things that I like or things that I don't, so if you're interested in that, hit the subscribe button. Or don't. I don't know. I don't control your life. But thank you so much for watching. Alright, see you later, suckers. Bye! That's not gonna be my outro, but I guess it is right now. Woo!